Okay, this is in reply to my own question I asked myself about how the high earners, how the UBI would be implemented in their tax system, which once again, they're implementing an awful lot of changes. Are they going to try to muddle them all together? Are they going to make it seem that one is quite destructive and the other is quite beneficial so they counteract each other? Or is it purely going to be, this is how it is, suck it up sunshine, because we've figured it out, we've done our forecast, we've done our modelling, and I don't mean they've got bikinis on and they're out there doing their disco dancing in the balcony with Alan Doith from Qantas. No, they're not doing any of that stuff. Sorry, I've got to find some humour in this because this is just so fucking depressing. But anyway, so I looked into, would a high earner that's receiving the UBI, which when you think about it, universal basic income was everybody, okay? It was everybody gets it. So, you know, they're making it very inclusive. They're not going to discriminate against anybody. They're not going to exclude anybody. They're not going to forget anybody. At the end of the day, you've got to remember back to, it wasn't Charles Schwab, it was one of those horrible, I think it was the guy that, he looks very Spanish looking, and he did a speech, and I did do a video on it. His speech was part of one of the COVID land videos, and a few of them have said it, you know, about the whole COVID situation, about how they had to get the numbers up, you know what numbers I'm talking about, and then we could all have, you know, like herd immunity and stuff like that, and would all be protected. But a few people were like saying, we're all in it together. We're not safe until everybody's safe. Which meant that everybody, it was like this totally inclusive circumstance. So everybody. And I can remember saying in the video, well, if they're saying that everybody, we're not safe until everybody's taken the vaccine. Until everybody's taken the vaccine, nobody's safe. That's what he was saying. I'm like, you're an idiot, mate. You're a moron. Because you only have to look at how many countries there are where there are people that are in villages that have never seen white man. So how are these people going to get the vaccine? Then it's never going to happen. It's a big load of bullshit. But anyway, so I looked into the UBI, and they would likely, again, this word likely keeps appearing everywhere. If you had $1 for every time I said likely, I'd be very rich. Would likely be taxable. Well, why would likely be? If they're getting income and everybody, they're going to class the UBI as taxable income, instead of a salary, and therefore you're going to have to pay Medicare on it to fund the Medicare system, why are they saying would likely be taxable? And high earners would likely not receive a rebate, because I asked if they'd get a rebate. Will UBI be taxable in Australia, and will high earners get rebates? Because I thought they might have some way that they could get some altruistic, you know, oh, you get a bonus because you're so kind and you donated and you paid and you've already got so much because you're such a generous person, and we're going to give you a rebate we can't give you physical cash, but we can give you a rebate of, you know, blah, 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 blah. We can give you 5 weeks on Epstein Island maybe. I don't know, something like that. Which is what a hoo-ha, all that is happening again. But anyway, it's all a distraction, guys. Remember that, it's all a distraction. This WHO treaty thing is about to be implemented around half of the world. And they're raising up all this Epstein stuff and these major health and, well, you know, like weather incidents happening. You know, people are being flooded and drowned out and stormed out everywhere. You know, you've got to think about it. This is all distraction. It's distraction tactics. But anyway, but rather be taxed on the UBI income they receive. Okay, so does that mean that they can earn their normal job and get $100,000 a year and not get taxed on it, and they'll only be taxed on the UBI income, which might be $30,000 a year? Like the dole, it'll be like the dole. I'm pretty confident it will be similar to what the dole is, you know, like $23,000 or $24,000 a year. Is that what it will be? But they can have their $100,000 that they're not being taxed on, because that's what it reads. But rather would be taxed on the UBI income they receive. So they won't get a rebate, but rather would be taxed on the UBI income they receive. They're not saying on their income they receive. They're talking about the UBI income. This is where you've got to really read between the lines as to why they've made that discrepancy there. It's given that option and that, interpretation that it could be your UBI, you're only being taxed on the UBI. Just like, don't worry, these unrealised capital gains is only for people that have superannuation over $3 million. It doesn't matter that in 10 years' time you might be over the $3 million because we're all in it together, guys. Don't worry about it. A UBI income would be integrated into the existing tax system, meaning it would be treated as income and taxed accordingly. So are they going to have it on as part of your normal taxation, or is it going to be exclusive and it'll be, I don't know, no rebate for high earners, but anyway, the UBI would likely, again, to be considered income and therefore be subject to income tax to the dividend's marginal tax rate. This means that a proportion of the UBI received income would be returned to the government through taxes. Okay, so they give you the UBI and then they take it back from you. It's like, there used to be an odd saying. What was it? Indian giver? You gave something to someone and then you asked for it back. You're an Indian giver. And I used to think that was the Indians, like the wah Indians, not the curry Indians. Must have been very, 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 not very nice people, but, that's the naivety of a child growing up in Melbourne where everybody's nasty. But, it was the Americans that stole the Indian stuff. They stole the native land. So the Americans, or the British, whoever you want to call them, that colonised America, were the bad guys. But anyway, potential tax reforms, implementing a UBI in Australia would likely require significant tax platforms. Is that what they're doing? Tax reforms, they're doing that right now. Potentially including changes to the tax-free threshold and marginal tax rates. What are they going to change the tax-free threshold to and the marginal tax rates? Is this going to be so that everybody that's getting a UBI has to fucking pay tax? That there won't be at the moment, I think it's what you get the first $18,000 tax-free? Or are they going to up that to what the marginal UBI rate is, which might be $23,000. They might give you the first $23,000 free, and from there on you have to pay for it, or you'll be taxed for it after that. Or are they going to lower it down to like $5,000? So even when you get an UBI, you've got to be taxed on it. I don't know. They're a bit dodgy on this. This is just the AI, of course. I did try to have a look to see if there was any government policies, but I couldn't find anything yet. Okay. Impacting on different income levels. Individuals with lower incomes may see a net benefit from a UBI as they will receive more in UBI payments than they would in additional taxes. Okay. However, higher earners would likely see a smaller net benefit or even a net deduction in disposable income due to the taxes they pay on the UBI. Okay, how are they going to fund the UBI? That'll be in the next video I'll be doing. Will be how they're going to fund the UBI, because if people don't have, I'm talking about, I don't know how many. Might even do a video and see if they can project how many people might be on UBI. Everybody will be on it, but how many people are going to be forced to be on it through lack of employment opportunities, or because they've been laid off because their job no longer exists. Like, apparently at the moment there's hundreds of thousands of jobs that are going from certain organisations that AI is now taking control of. So, it's very, 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 very alarming. Funding the UBI. A UBI in Australia would likely, holy shit, be funded through increasing taxation, potentially including a wealth tax, as well as savings from streamlining and replacing existing welfare programs, a wealth tax. Holy shit, this is just what I started with Starmer. They were talking about a wealth tax in the US, in the UK. And I said, is that going to be in lieu? Because they don't have the superannuation to get people captured on this 3 million superannuation to do these unrealised capital gains. They don't have that in the UK because they don't have superannuation. So they're going to have a wealth tax. And now they're talking about a wealth tax here. That will be the next video. But anyway, I've got to go. I've got so much to investigate here. This is fascinating. It's a bit depressing, but I like knowing what the bastards are organising. Yeah, they can't pull the wool over our eyes. We can pull the wool apart. You can burn the wool. You can do lots of things. Don't let them control us. But anyway, I've got to go. Godspeed to all. Godspeed.